We just heard from James White and the Blacks, or James Chance, or the Contortions. Brilliant act from the what's kind of said in music shorthand as the no new wave period of New York music. I guess it's post-television, post-Richard Hell, this bunch of people on a great label, mainly called Z Records, started by, I don't know, an Argentinian millionaire or something.
Richard Zulka,
so it's Z
who's a great guy.
Yeah, and they put out a great, people like very high-quality music, Was Not Was and Christina and Kid Creole and the Coconuts. Had great hit records, but also something of that period, like Factory Records in the UK did the same, where they had things that were quite willful and things that had no commercial potential. They invested lots of money in, and also had the, I guess, the intelligence to have hits as well for a little while. And anyway, we're talking here with Henry Rollins, who's in Melbourne to do a few shows, and Henry's been entertaining us off-air with stories about some of the performers like James Chance we've been playing, which we won't be putting onto air, but he's a very interesting character. I remember reading about him only, and I have a great record of him. He has such a visionary music.
Amazing.
For the period. Yeah. He's been touring in France recently, where he's had great support, like Alan Vega, another New York artist.
Yeah, well, they're kind of from the same time period. I mean, Alan Vega,
that was Z Records as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but also, that was that scene in New York. Mars, all kinds of really good bands came out of there.
There was the band that provided the bass line for the Sugar Hill Gang, I think. They were ESG or something like that.
ESG was on 99 Records.
Yeah, and they had a bass line that propelled White Lines by Grandmaster Flash, I think. Yeah, great period of American music.
When I contacted James many years ago, so all his records were out of print, fetching these ridiculous prices, and I wanted to put them out and give people a fair crack at things like By Contortions, great famous James record. So I finally found his phone number through an agent, and you call him, you're like, what do you want? I'm like, well, my name's Henry Rollins. I want to put out your records. Why? I want to give you money, James. Here's my address. And so I went and hung out with him, and he barely opened the door. There's like an eye poking out. James, it's me, Henry Rollins, here to talk to you about licensing your material. And he kind of lets you in the whole night. I hung out with him, trying to get a smile out of him. And he just kind of studied me from across the room. And I walked out going, I have no idea how that just went. But he allowed me to license the records.
He was very close to Anya, I think, on the first Contortions album, and she unfortunately died very young. And I heard a story that he was being feted by the music press in Britain, who can do that sort of thing, turn on all their energy onto an artist and blast their image across Europe. And all the media was there waiting for him. And she unfortunately died on the way there, and he just couldn't hold a band together. And I think he got members of Susie and the Banshees to back him at this premiere, introduction to the British media, and it just couldn't hold together. It was terrible, and I don't think he recovered from it.
Yeah, there's Melvin Gibbs, who played bass in my band for a while. I have live tapes of Melvin playing with James. I mean, he had a lot of people in the Contortions over the years, or whatever he was calling himself at that time. And thankfully, now that time has caught up with his brilliance, there's a lot of interesting reissues, box sets, and rare stuff that have come out since.
Yeah, it's a very fresh sound whenever you hear the Contortions records.
He's amazing, and he's a interesting guy. He just thinks differently.
Yeah. That thing about holding bands together is really, I find it very interesting, because people kind of take it for granted that groups get together, but often it's just chance meetings and only can hold together for a little while. Yeah. And it's people's shared ambition. Say when you joined Black Flag, you were coming them when they were already existing, so you'd experienced them outside, and then you became inside of them.
I went from fan to band member, which was odd, and never really, I always felt kind of a member of the band, but it was basically Greg Ginn's band. So.
You're always very respectful of him all the way through, that it was his band.
It is. I mean, it was, if all those songs of that band that you remember and like, look who wrote them, not me. It's always Greg.
And then how did you learn to communicate and get another thing happening after that? You know,
necessity. I wanted to keep making music, so I found like-minded people and said, "Hey, you want to be in a band with me?" And thankfully, one I grew up with, the guitar player Chris Haskett, and the other two I'd been touring with. They were in Greg Ginn's opening band on the last Black Flag tour. I said, "Are you working with anyone now?" They said, "No." I said, "You want to play with me and this guy you never met?" And they said, "Yeah, we'll try it." So me and Chris, the guitar player, went to New Jersey where these guys lived and wrote like 3 or 4 songs in like the first few days we were together, and went, wow, this is clicking pretty well. And that's what became the Rollins band.
You were already kind of doing a few outside things while you were in Black Flag, so you were keeping busy in a way.
Yeah, we all did. I mean, we were all very ambitious people. I was, starting my little publishing company and doing, talking shows or opening for poets and doing some voiceover work, this and that. And then as soon as Black Flag broke up, I started going for all kinds of other things: film, TV, more voiceover, radio stuff, and just kind of said yes to everything out of curiosity and a love of food on a daily basis, and also just knowing I know where I come from. I come from the minimum wage working world. I'm basically skilled to clean this radio station after y'all go home, and so I have no real illusions. And so whenever someone says, "Hey, you want to do?" I'm like, "Yeah, I probably would." They're like, "Henry, that movie you're in sucks." Yeah, I'm not Marlon Brando. I'm just really happy for the work.
You mentioned you've been in a television series. I don't think it's being shown in Australia, called Sons of Anarchy.
I think it's on cable here. Yeah,
right. Yeah. And
do you still say yes to most things that you're offered, Henry?
Yeah, unless I'm politically opposed to it. Of all places in Australia, I was offered to do a bunch of Guinness ads for a very high amount of money. And I don't drink.
And most people know you don't drink. It's a wonder they asked you.
Well, marketing people, they probably just saw the face, or I don't know.
Andy Warhol used to say he would advertise anything. So it meant it was no personal investment from him.
Well, as far as advertising, there's a personal investment. So I don't want to get behind an alcohol. I just can't do that. But when someone's, when I get an offer to be in a film and you look at the script and you go, "Well, this is really corny." Yeah, for 2 weeks I'll be a priest. Yeah, just because it's fun. And you don't have to take yourself that seriously all the time. And employment is fun, and doing different things is fun. It keeps your character rounded as far as getting through this life. And I don't like sitting around. I like to be busy, like all the time. So I say yes to stuff.
So in the last year or so, what has been your main occupation then? Is it talking tours?
Well, 2009 was mainly spent in Hollywood making that TV show, The Sons of Anarchy. And then I left. Also in that time, me and my assistant put together and put out 2 books of mine, travel writing from 2007 and 2008. Both those books came out. As soon as the show wrapped, I left America with my camera bag because I'm working on a photo essay book. So I went from America to Germany to Jordan to Saudi Arabia, Brunei, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, India, Nepal, China, Senegal, then Mali. From Timbuktu, I went to Dublin to start this tour, which is about 71 shows in and 13 or 14 countries deep. And that's been that's been basically April to now. So it's about a year and some of fairly nonstop work. And also I have a weekly radio show, and I write for different, liner notes for this or that, whatever. I just did liner notes for the new Raw Power re-release. It's coming out at the end of the month. So I say yes to interesting things, and I'm not an actor, but I can fake like an actor good enough to get the work. And so I was, in a big TV show last year. That was pretty crazy.